In the last section, we said that we wanted to insert some type of pause before we attempt to refetch a given link. And so just to make sure that we really understand this for loop right here, this for loop is saying watch the channel C. Whenever a value comes out of it, assign that value to L, L being short for link. Once that value comes out and is assigned to L, the body of the for loop is then immediately executed. So essentially, we are kind of waiting on this statement right here before we dive into the actual body of the for loop. And the body of the for loop immediately starts a check link go routine. So our goal right now is to figure out some way to insert a little pause in this process. So we want to make sure that we pause before we go and attempt to fetch a link again. Now, doing the actual pause is actually going to be pretty straightforward, but figuring out exactly where to put the code to pause is going to be a little bit more challenging. So let's take a look at our documentation, and we're going to figure out how we put in some type of arbitrary pause into our code. So I'm going to flip on over to our Golang documentation. So I'm looking at the packages documentation that we've looked at several times before. Now inside of here, I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom of the page. I'm looking for a package called time. Okay, so not the very, very bottom, but at least down to the time package, which is nearly towards the bottom of the page. So we'll look at the time package. Inside of here, we'll scroll on down to the index section. And inside of there, you'll find a function called sleep right here. So let's look at sleep. Okay, so sleep pauses the current go routine for at least some duration d. So this is a function that we can use right here to put in some little arbitrary pause to our code. Now the very important thing to note here is the terminology that it uses. It says this sleeps or pauses the current go routine. And so we're going to have to very soon here figure out a little bit about exactly which go routine we really want to pause. Now you'll notice that the pause function takes an argument of d, which is supposed to be of type duration. So let's click on duration right here and figure out exactly what it is. So here's type duration. If you scroll down just a little bit to the bottom of this section, you'll notice that this duration thing also includes a second constant. And so we can essentially call time.second, essentially what is listed out right here, and that is kind of a value of 1 second. So if we want to pause our code for exactly 1 second, we can call time.sleep, so here's this sleep function, and pass in an argument of time.second. And that will pause our code for exactly 1 second. Okay, so let's flip back over to our code now. And we're going to do a little bit of thinking of deciding exactly where we are going to insert this code to actually pause before we go and attempt to refetch a link. So let's first add in the code that will make the pause actually occur. To do so, we're going to say something like time.sleep and then time.second, like so. Now, time.second is a duration type, as we just saw, but in reality, that duration type is actually a int64. And so this is a little bit of knowledge of exactly what this time.second thing is right here. I'm just going to cut to the chase rather than doing a long discussion about types here. And I'm just going to tell you that if we want to pause for multiple seconds, we can multiply this value right here and pause for several seconds. So for example, if we want to insert a pause of 5 seconds, we can say 5 times time.second, like so. So this line of code right here is going to pause the current go routine that executes it for 5 seconds. Now, if we look at the code right here, I want you to just kind of think for a second whether or not this is an appropriate way to put this operation together. If you really think about it, we're saying that every single time that a value comes out of the channel C, pause for 5 seconds and then immediately start the next go routine to refetch this link. Now there's just one big issue here. I want you to really think about this for a second. So I'm going to pull up a diagram. Okay, so this is kind of what we're looking at right now, right? We've got our Google routine, we've got a pause in between each one, we've got our Stack Overflow and a pause between, etc. Now if we put that pause into our main routine, that is a blocking call, and it means that while the main routine is paused, it cannot receive any other messages through the channel. Now those messages are not lost, they just get kind of like lined up or queued up. But the issue is that we are saying that at most, we can only ever execute one new go routine once every 5 seconds. Because when we put this time.sleep statement inside of our main routine, we're saying, oh, okay, like the google.com routine just finished up right here. Okay, well, we are going to now pause the main routine. So the main routine now gets paused at this point in time, and then we have to wait 5 seconds before that thing can wake back up. And so maybe 5 seconds is like right here. So maybe we're saying from here to here is 5 seconds. And in that time, the Stack Overflow routine might finish up as well. So the Stack Overflow routine will put a message into the channel, but the main routine will not be ready to receive it for like another 2 seconds. And so we're very quickly realizing here that, hey, the main routine will only be able to do something once every 5 seconds if we leave the time.sleep code there. So it's really not appropriate to put the pause statement or that sleep statement directly into our main routine. We want to make sure that the main routine is always awake and ready to receive some message to the channel. Otherwise, we're going to very quickly throttle ourselves here and get a lot of backed up messages inside of the channel. So clearly we need to do something a little bit more clever here. So let's take a quick pause. We're going to come back in the next section and we're going to figure out exactly where we should place this sleep statement. So quick break and we'll tackle it in just a minute.